Hello and welcome to the Wheel of Crime podcast. This podcast is ran by two ladies who play games, mumble profanities, and laugh way too often. Also, this podcast does cover topics of sensitive nature, and as such, listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome back to the Wheel of Crime podcast. My name is Jen.
And my name is Emily. We are officially 1 week post Leprechaun. How are you feeling about it?
So good. Did you go out and have any green beer or green bread as we discussed?
No, I was so sad. My mom, she didn't have time to make the bread this year because it fell on a weekday, which is fine. And then as for green beer, I'm not a big beer person, but I did have a green whiskey cran drink. Do you know what I'm talking about? They come in the can. Like, I bought a green can.
Oh, yeah.
and then in the spirit of the holiday, naturally, my sister and I watched Twilight together.
Ooh.
For the first time ever, because even though you were super into it growing up, I had a different living situation that didn't accommodate for vampires and werewolves in my household. So
growing up sheltered.
Yeah, just a bit. But yeah, no, it was, I'm gonna be honest, watching Twilight as a grown person, especially during the era of when it was popular, so like I remember so well how people reacted to it, especially you, because that was obviously your scene for a while. The movie is hysterical. It is so funny, but in completely a non-romantic way. Like, I can see why it was such a big deal at the time for a lot of things, but then at the same time, like, when the line "hold on, spider monkey" came up, I nearly left my body. I was like he just like fucking starts climbing trees like a literal monkey, and I was like, who is this man?
Bella, where the hell you been, Loca?
Oh my god, I can't wait. So that's like our plan next is to go through the rest of the series, because you hear so many of these things online, right? And it's like, Bella, where the hell you been, Loca? And like, I'm so stoked. But I won't lie to you, it was some good laughs. It was very funny for me. I enjoyed it.
Honestly, and I mean this absolutely seriously, the first Twilight movie is objectively the best made movie in the series. They kind of all go downhill from there.
Really?
So you've seen the highlight. You're about to see some of the... I loved these movies growing up, but like, they're trash.
It's so bad.
Trash.
Well, and it's funny too.
Literally, okay. I was a fan. You know I was a fan.
I know, you had a Team Edward, Team Jacob shirt, and you would like change your shirt halfway through the day because you'd be like, yeah, I thought about it at lunchtime, and I think Jacob's actually better. And then you just like swap them out.
Literally, I loved these movies. I loved the books. I was like super into it. But when I went to go see New Moon, which is the second movie in the series,
yeah,
on opening night, I went to like the 7 p.m. show or whatever, because we didn't have a midnight screening because we lived in a fucking hick town in Alberta.
The redneck capital.
Which was very disappointing.
Yep.
But I went to the 7 p.m. screening because that was the first one. I left that theater and there was people in line to see like the 9 p.m. show or whatever, and I was like pissed. I remember being like, that was the worst movie ever made. Fuck that movie. It's not even worth it. Don't waste your time. And me, a fucking 12-year-old, saying this in the theater, like, how embarrassing. But I was pissed.
That is so funny. I can't wait. Because, I don't know, man, but, like, watching it, too, it really feels like you're watching an indie movie. Like, it was very bizarre. I was, like, looking at it, and I was like, it's so wild remembering how crazy people were about it, and then watching now, and I'm like, wow, it's like, it's good in the way where it's bad, you know? It's kind of like, it's the same feeling I get from reading, like, A Court of Thorns and Roses, where it's bad, but because it's bad, it's good. One of those things. Yeah. But there's a few things that are also, like, insanely cringy, like, this is the skin of a killer Bella, or of a Bella killer.
Literally, though, but, like, honestly, like, I get what you mean with Court of Thorns and Roses because I really liked that series. Glad you introduced me to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the exact same feeling reading that as I did when I first read Twilight, which I think is why I liked it so much.
And I knew you would because it's the same thing.
Feeling.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, thank you for giving me credit. But that was my thing when I read it too, is it gives the same vibes. And I was like, I remember how much Jenny liked that. And I know she would like this series for that reason, because it's also like...
I feel like you should read the Twilight books. I feel like that is something that you need to do.
I've read them already, but it would have been years ago now.
I lent them to you.
Yeah, I read them when we were in like late middle school, early high school era. I read the books. I just never watched the movies because like that was like a weird thing where I was like allowed to read things, but only certain things, and then I wasn't allowed to like watch things. I don't know, man. But so I've read the books, which the books were like fine for like a young adult book series, because I remember reading a lot of things at the time and I was like, yeah, you know, like this is good. Probably not my favorite, but then yeah, no. Just the whole thing's very interesting.
To go back a little, I don't really know how that relates to St. Patrick's Day, but I'm glad you did something fun.
I really tried to make it work. I'm gonna be honest. I just really wanted to watch Twilight, and Abby was like, "Oh, well, you know," because we had worked late and weren't really up to the gym that night because she really wanted to get a St. Patrick's Day themed Dairy Queen milkshake or something. So then she was like, "Well, if we're eating that, then we can't go to the gym." And I was like, "Well, if we're not going to the gym, we should like, I don't know, watch a movie." And she's like, "Well, what movie?" And I was like, maybe Twilight, because it's been on like my watch list, but I don't want to watch it alone. I want to watch it with somebody. So that was my thing. And then if we're really trying to make it relate, they use a lot of green filter in the film, and I feel like that really
it's
like
blue actually.
It looks green, and also like vampires, werewolves, leprechauns. I don't know. It's all like the same realm, I guess.
You know what? I'll give you that one. It's fine. I'll let it slide this time.
Right? But then, I will say, though, there's also a couple things that, like, never rang alarm bells for me before that they probably should have with the Twilight series. Like, Edward just, like, okay, I guess this is spoilers for anybody who hasn't watched it. Sorry in advance. I will be spoiling this movie. The whole watching her in her bedroom thing, and then it's just like very glazed over, or like the whole like, yeah, I'm stalking you. Like, just, what about it? Hold on, spider monkey, I'm gonna kidnap you and climb a tree and then show you my pectorals as they shimmer in the sunlight and tell you that I'm a killer. And then we're gonna go play baseball with my family in the middle of a rainstorm.
Okay, but the baseball... Okay, I will die on this hill. The baseball scene is the most iconic scene that has ever existed in cinema. And I work in the film industry, so basically I have the authority on this topic.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I will say that baseball is probably one of the least sexy sports I've seen in my life. And also, I totally understand now why, oh, who's the lady who plays Bella?
Kristen Stewart.
Kristen Stewart. I totally get now why Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson both have expressed how much they dislike the movie. Because you look back, the acting's terrible. The acting is so awful. The whole like Bella's like lip biting thing and being like, I'm so like misunderstood. Look at me, I'm hot and alone. Like, the biting her lip thing, like, every 5 seconds, I was like, I'm gonna rip her lips off. I'm gonna get in there, just rip them off.
See, I don't know, I was, like, so serious about these movies when they were coming out that I remember I went to go see the third movie with my sister, my older sister, who's 10 years older than me, and her friend. So I was, like, 12, and they were, like, 22. And they were just like laughing their asses off during the movie, and I was like, I kept looking at them and being like, what the fuck is funny? Like, this is a very serious moment and you're being disrespectful.
You're like, this is a documentary, guys, you're not supposed to laugh.
Shut the fuck up.
This is the story of my life.
This is a very serious love story, and we've got some really intense scenes going down, so you need to relax.
Right? Oh my god, that's so funny. But no, that's my next thing now, is that I just can't get over how funny it is. Like, I can't. There's so many things that come up where I'm like, that happened? What the fuck is going on
you'll
here?
have to watch the rest of the series and let me know what you think.
I
and if you
cannot
agree about
wait.
the decline in quality.
I cannot wait for Taylor Lautner to show up. I'm gonna make my sister choose. I'm like, you gotta be one. Are you Team Edward or Team Jacob? You gotta pick a side.
He's in the first movie.
Yeah, but he's like super not cute though in the first movie. He's got like the weird thing going on where he's like, yeah, I've like known you in childhood. We made like mud pies together. Drive my truck, Bella. And you're like, okay.
It's true. He really hits his stride in New Moon.
He comes off as just like a really cringy childhood best friend who just wishes he was cooler than what he actually is. The whole movie. Yeah. That's the big vibes I'm getting, which is like not the vibe, but we will see.
Well, nothing is ever gonna be bad as Regurgitate, so
I know, I can't wait. So my sister, she hasn't watched or read any of the books or watched any of the movies, so this is like a totally fresh experience for her. And I think the part that really killed me is like something would happen and I'm like, I forgot about that, and she would like look at me and she'd be like,
damn, I wish I could have seen that.
Oh, it is priceless. It is treasure. I'm gonna do this thing where the next time we watch it together, I'm just gonna have my phone out and ready to like take videos anytime I like think I know a scene is coming up, because I'm still kind of like, there's certain things I know, but I also don't know when they're gonna happen. So I'm just like, I'm just so prepared. It's like, what was it?
Well, I think we've seen New Moon together. Like, I think I showed you that movie.
I'm pretty sure, because that's when they like introduced Jacob and his, you know, all of his essence. Wolfy essence. But yeah, no, I'm trying to think of, there was one thing that happened in particular that she thought was hilarious, and I just can't remember what it was now. I'm gonna have to rewatch it. We're gonna have to rewatch it. Ooh, we should rewatch
maybe
it.
Next time I'm down in your neck of the woods, we can finish the series off together, and that way I can
right? And then
there.
We'll have to like set it up too where we have to like take a shot every time somebody does something like that they're notorious for.
Be drunk in the first 10 minutes.
Anytime Bella bites her lip, anytime Edward references like how he's a killer or something, I don't know, but like I feel like there's a couple good ones for sure.
For sure. All right, but we should probably move on to our wheel of
We definitely
questions.
should. We've been talking about this for like 15 minutes, but it's fine. But yeah, so that was basically my St. Patrick's Day. Did you have a green beer or anything?
No. I honestly worked. What day even was? Oh, Thursday. It was Thursday. Yeah, I worked, and then I came home, and we had kind of like some urgent stuff due that night, so I had to work more when I got home. And then I went to bed at like 3 a.m.
Yeah. It do be like that sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on to things that are more fun than working till 3 in the morning. Because we don't need to think about that anymore. It's in the past. We've forgotten about it now.
Exactly.
But, yeah, I guess what I'll do then is I'll spin our wheel of questions and you can guess the topic for today. What would you do if you saw yourself in the news unaware? Like you were watching the news one day and just happened to see yourself on television. What would you do?
That's literally already happened.
What do you mean?
I've never told anyone this because it was embarrassing. In middle school, my parents were very active in politics, and the party that they supported, I won't say which one, But the party that they supported was having this like rally, so I went with them because as a 12-year-old, I was convinced that I was also very political and like knowledgeable or whatever, even though I was basically just repeating what my parents said. But regardless, I was in the background of this, like, the premier of our province at that time was at this thing, and it's like this video of me, like, as a 12-year-old shaking his hand and then him walking. And I saw it on the news because my parents were watching it, and I was like, that's me.
Oh my god, that is hilarious. I can't believe you've never said anything.
It was really embarrassing because I've got like my little double chin and I'm like shaking.
You're like, yes, I am the most
so
political.
Awkward.
Oh my god, that is so funny. I can't. That is so good.
It exists, you know? I've been on the news a few times, okay? I used to be a broadcast journalist, so I've had my fair share of on-air moments.
Oh, yes.
Most of them terrible.
See, I've been on the news once, and this was not to dampen the mood at all, but it was post my cousin's death. She died because of carbon monoxide poisoning. And so they wanted a member of our family to kind of like step up and like kind of say something about it, because it got really publicized just with the nature of what happened, because it was her and 2 other people who all died of carbon monoxide poisoning in the middle of winter. So they want to like have somebody speak on it and be like, oh, like this is like something that happens a lot, and this is why we need to be careful, and like here's what you can do to like prevent it, and here's how it's impacting people, right? So they want somebody from our family to speak on it, and it ended up being me, because post the incident, I was one of the only people who still was able to like kind of maintain a good face about it, I think. So I was on the news for that, and then I've been in the newspaper a lot, but like for no good reason. I was in it once with my brother eating yogurt as like a feature for some reason. Don't even ask me why. I don't know why. It just happened. And then
what was the feature on? I need to know.
It had something to do with like the hometown we come from's museum, because they used to like do this thing where it was like a science thing at the museum that you could go to once a week. And so I guess my brother and I went once, and the one day that we went, they had a news reporter there, and she just like took pictures of us eating yogurt for like our lunch break, and then that put it on the newspaper, and I was like, nice. And then
as someone who's been in that reporter's position, I completely understand.
I was
you
like,
know what? Sometimes the image options are like dog shit, and you're like, well, I guess we're going with this really random photo of a person doing tequila shots and holding a lime because they're, you know, trying to raise money for Lyme disease. I guess this is just what we're doing.
Yep,
exactly. It's not great, but this is what we're doing. We're going with children eating yogurt. Yep, that's what's happening right now.
Yep. And then when I was working with the military, I don't know why they did this, but somebody who was working on the base took a photo of me partaking in, we used to have, it's kind of like an obstacle course run where you go through a bunch of obstacles and then you shoot a gun and then you have to run a certain amount of steps in order to complete it. And they took a picture of me on the monkey bars, like a literal hold on spider monkey moment, and sent it to our hometown for some reason. And then I was in the newspaper for that too, and then my mom called me and she's like, oh my god, you're famous. And I was like, what? I was like, lucky me, wow. People know I have legs and arms. I'm so cool.
Oh man, yeah, local news is honestly so fucking weird.
It was highly bizarre, but no, I think it's so funny though that you were on the news and just you kind of just took that experience. You're like, I'm putting that in my pocket.
I think you're the first person besides my parents who I've ever told, and now our podcast,
and now everybody who listens to the podcast. Oh my god, that's so funny.
Cat's out of the bag. If you can find that clip, send it to me.
It'll be around. I promise you. It'll be somewhere.
I would be so impressed if someone found that, honestly.
I'd be more impressed if it showed you wearing a Team Edward or Team Jacob shirt.
I'm pretty sure I was wearing a hot pink jacket with like neon teal tights. Like,
that is
the
so
outfit
2000s.
was not great.
That is so 2000s. I love that for you.
Maybe I'll try and find it later after I try and find all the you eating yogurt in the paper.
Yeah, right? Gosh, that's funny. All right, let's spin for our next question. I feel like our wheel of crime is growing more decrepit every day. Would you rather be a chicken or a snake?
A chicken, 100%.
I'd rather be a snake.
But then people would always be trying to get your skin.
But then people would be trying to eat you.
Well,
they either eat you, your eggs, or fox in the henhouse, hawk in the henhouse. Everything is trying to eat you. Everything is not trying to eat a snake.
Yes, but I could be one of those domestic chickens, like a
house
squaker.
Chicken? Oh, like Squaker, the house chicken? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I suppose that's an option.
We got the use of a chicken for a short film that we were doing. It was named Squawker, and I brought on Emily to help me wrangle this chicken, and she immediately was like, "Oh yes, Squaker, the chicken." Which, if you listen to our podcast, is not surprising.
Listen. It was bad, and then nobody corrected me. I just kept calling this stupid chicken Squaker the whole time, to the point where, like, there were people that we were working with who were, like, convinced that its name was actually Squaker, and, like, on its little, like, name tag, it says Squawker. It says Squawker, and I still said Squaker with, like, a straight face and never question it. I was like, yes, this is my son, Squaker.
He is beautiful.
Very beautiful. But yeah, okay, I'm interested to see that you picked chicken, but I'm also not surprised.
It's true. It's not a twist for me. I feel like it makes sense. And I feel like you picking a snake also checks out.
It does feel very on brand.
Not that you are acting like a snake, but I feel like for you, it's the vibes.
See, I would spend my time sunning, though, and only eat once a month, and also bite people if they get too close to me. I feel like these are all things that check out for my personality.
It's true. I feel like the vibes are just there.
It's true. The vibes do be like that. All right, let's move on to our next question.
Okay.
If you could eat one snack forever, what would it be? Not a meal, but a snack.
Popcorn.
Oh, interesting.
That's like literally my favorite snack of all time. Popcorn. I could eat that all the time.
See, I couldn't eat popcorn for a while for myself because I had one of the kernels stuck to my teeth, and then it actually like made a part of my gum rot away from how stuck it was in there, and I didn't know.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So that was like really cute. So my favorite snack is probably actually salt and vinegar chips. I eat them a lot, but I don't eat them like obsessively. I like literally having them as a snack, like just have like a bag and eat a few, call it good, come back later, eat another few. Like,
I feel like I go through phases with chips more now. Like, I feel like when we were in high school, we were both going through a hardcore salt and vinegar phase. Like, we were both obsessed. We would go to the convenience store near our house. We would buy a bag and crush it between the two of us in like a sitting.
Oh yeah.
And then my tongue would literally be like burnt because of all the vinegar. Mm-hmm. It was great. But
it was
but
so
now I go
though.
through more like chip phases. So like sometimes I'm really into salt and vinegar. Sometimes I like me some flaming hot Doritos. Yep. Sometimes it's like barbecue chips.
Okay, I can see that. I fluctuate sometimes, but, like, I also don't eat, like, chips as obsessively as I used to, so it's more like, if I am getting chips as a snack, usually my, like, go-to would be, like, salt and vinegar still. But yeah, so I would pick that one because it's at least it is the most consistent.
Fair. I don't know. I feel like every time I go to buy trips, I'm like, let's just switch her up.
I was like that for a while until I realized that like most like chip other types of chips they either just like don't hit the spot quite the same, or I actually do really like spicy dill pickle. That would be my second choice.
John, my partner, has also been obsessed with those.
All right, let's spin for our last question. What came first, the chicken or the egg?
The chicken probably evolved from another animal, so...
I would say the chicken, because I feel like if an egg existed first, nothing would be around to keep it warm then, and then if it hatched, it could probably not raise itself, so I'm going to assume the chicken probably came first.
I would agree with you. It's definitely the chicken, because the chicken definitely evolved from other animals into what it is today.
Yeah. All right. I like that we're on the same page. Nice. Very nice.
It's basically a tiny dinosaur. That's how I like to think of it.
They are tiny dinosaurs. Exactly. You got that right. So,
It's true.
with that, can you guess what my story is for you today?
It's got something to do with chickens.
Mm-hmm.
And snack food. And being on the news. I'm gonna say someone eats chicken as a snack. They're accidentally caught on the news somehow. Maybe they die, maybe they don't, maybe they just make a fool of themselves.
No, you are not close today.
Oh, damn!
You forgot to include the snake element.
I was thinking maybe the snake was just for fun.
It could be. I am tricky like that. But today I'm going to tell you a little something about this thing called a basilisk. So I'm going to read out the description to you.
Okay, take her away, Em.
So, in European bestiaries and legends, a basilisk is a legendary reptile reputed to be a serpent king who can cause death with a single glance. According to the Naturalis Historia of Pliny the Elder, the basilisk of Cyrene was a small snake, bigger not more than 12 fingers in length, and is so venomous it leaves a wide trail of deadly venom in its wake, and its gaze is likewise lethal. The basilisk's weakness is the odor of the weasel, which, according to Pliny, was thrown into the basilisk's hole, recognizable because of some of the surrounding shrubs and grass had been scorched by its presence, and is possible that the legend of the basilisk and its association with the weasel in Europe was inspired by accounts of certain species of Asiatic snakes, such as the king cobra, and their natural predator, the mongoose. But the reason that the chicken is involved is so how a basilisk is allegedly created is from a chicken sitting on a snake egg. And so then when the snake hatches, it's like a weird, like, chicken-snake hybrid.
That has the same energy as this TikTok that I saw where a girl who got a nose job thought her baby would have her new nose. That's
Stop
the
it.
same energy. I'm telling you.
That has to be made up. Are you serious?
It's literally not. This girl was convinced, and she was so defensive when people called her out.
I can't even begin to unpack that. But you're right, it does bring the same energy. You're right.
Oh, God.
That's really funny. But yeah, and then, so the basilisk is interesting because it's been in a few different movies. Can you think of what one is probably one of the bigger ones that it's known for?
I have no idea.
Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
I mean, I used to not be able to distinguish Dumbledore and freaking Gandalf, so I feel like unsurprising.
That's some fair confusion. I can feel that and understand that, so that's fair. Oh gosh. But yeah, with that, I will get into my story of the basilisk for you.
All right, take her away, Em.
Few creatures have struck more terror into the hearts for longer than the basilisk, a monster feared for centuries throughout Europe and North Africa. Like many ancient marvels, it was a bizarre hybrid, a crested snake that hatched from an egg, laid by a rooster and incubated by a toad. So that is another that's another variation of how the basilisk is created. So it's either the one I told you, where it is a chicken that sits on a snake egg and then the snake hatches, or this one, which is a snake that hatched from an egg laid by a rooster and was incubated by a toad. So just to give you an idea, that would mean a boy chicken, a male chicken, empreg, an egg, and then a toad wandered by and was like, hey, I could sit on that. And then just did that until a snake hatched. And that is a basilisk.
Very interesting combos. Again, giving me nose job energy.
Exactly, right? So, moving on from that origination story. So, the basilisk of legend was rare but decidedly deadly, and it was widely believed to wither landscapes with its breath and kill with a glare. The example above comes from a German bestiary dated to the medieval period, but the earliest description was given hundreds of years earlier by Pliny the Elder, who described the monster in his pioneering natural history from 79 AD, and the 37 volumes of this masterpiece were completed shortly after their author was suffocated by sulfurous fumes in Vesuvius while investigating the eruption that consumed Pompeii. According to the Roman savant, it was a small animal not more than 12 fingers in length, but astoundingly deadly. He does not impel his body, like other serpents, by a multiplied flexation, Pliny adds, but advances loftily and upright. So that's why in the description I mentioned how a lot of people feel like that the basilisk is really more of a description of probably some type of Asiatic snake. Because what Pliny the Elder said there is that the basilisk does not advance like a normal snake, where you know how they slither on the ground. He said it isn't like that, but rather that it holds its head in an upright position and then advances, which cobras do that. And there's a couple other species that do that as well. So that's where they think that came from, just in case you were curious.
I was.
You're like, yes, the biology. I love the biology of snakes.
You know me in science. I'm fascinated.
So it was a description that accorded with the then popular notion of the basilisk as the King of Serpents. According to the same mythology, it also kills the shrubs, not only by contact but by breathing on them, and splits rocks such as the power of evil is there in him. The basilisk was thought to be native to Libya, and the Romans believed that the Sahara had been fertile land until an infestation of basilisks had turned it into a desert. So, Pliny is not the only ancient author to mention the basilisk. The Roman poet Lucian, writing only a few years later, described another characteristic commonly ascribed to the monster, and the idea is that it was so venomous that any birds that flew over the monster would drop dead from the sky, while if a man on horseback stabbed one with a spear, the poison would flow up through the weapon and kill not only the rider but the horse as well. The only creature that the basilisk feared was the weasel, which ate rue to render it impervious to the monster's venom and would chase and kill the serpent in its lair. So, the basilisk remained an object of terror long after the collapse of the Roman Empire and was popular in medieval bestiaries. It was in this period that a great deal of additional myth grew up around it. It became less of a serpent than a mix of a snake and a rooster. It was almost literally hellish. Jan Bonsden notes that the monster was the subject of a lengthy discourse in the early 13th century bestiary of Pierre de Bouvet. An aged cock, which had lost its virility, so also not just a rooster, but apparently an old man rooster, would sometimes lay a small abnormal egg. If this egg laid in a dunghill and was hatched by a toad, a misshapen creature with the upper body of a rooster, bat-like wings, and the tail of a snake will come forth. Once hatched, the young basilisk creeps down to its cellar.
Wait. Bat-like wings? Okay, we're mixing more shit in here?
Oh, yeah. This is what I am telling you. It starts out as one thing, and then more retellings happen, and they're like, oh, yeah, it comes from the desert that it created, and it's got wings now. And you're like, all right.
Okay, like when? Where? Was a bat sitting on top of the toad that was sitting on top of the egg?
No, it's a aged cock, so a really old ass rooster lays an egg somehow, and then it happens to be in a dunghill, and then in the dunghill a toad comes by and sits on it, and then it hatches, and then it has the upper body of a rooster, bat-like wings, and the tail of a snake.
Yeah, but like, where does the bat come into it? Was the bat sitting on top of the toad? Is that how it got the wings?
I like to think that the bat was just watching. It was like a casual observer to
It was just there.
to this whole madness and just somehow managed to contribute. It was in a bat dunghill. You know what? I'm calling it now. It was the dunghill was actually guano that the toad sat in, and that's how the bat came in there.
Ah, okay. It all makes sense now. You're right. Totally logical.
Right? It totally makes sense. So then, once hatched, the young basilisk creeps down to a cellar or a deep well to wait for some unsuspecting man to come by and be overwhelmed by its noxious vapors. The King of Snakes also crops up occasionally in the chronicles of the period, and it is in these accounts that we mostly see here, such as they portray the basilisk not as an interesting ancient legend, but as a living creature and a very real threat. Among the principal cases, we might note the following. So, according to the excerpt citations of Julius Scaliger from the years 1484 to 1558, in the 9th century during the pontification of Leo V, 847 to 55, a basilisk concealed itself under an arch near the Temple of Lucia in Rome, and the creature's odor caused a devastating plague, but the Pope slew the creature with his prayers, as he does. So, next we have Bondesen reports that in the year 1202, in Vienna, a mysterious outbreak of fainting fits were traced to a basilisk that had hidden in a well. The creature, which, fortunately for the hunters, was already dead when they found it, was recovered and a sandstone statue erected to commemorate the hunt. Which, is it really a hunt if you find it and it's already dead? Just saying.
My first question, who traced it to the Basquets? Who traced it?
Who even knows? Who even knows?
Did some guy just be like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I heard about this chicken, toad, snake, bat thing?
He's like, yeah, I saw a huge pile of bat shit the other day and some chickens hanging around. Could be a basilisk.
And that's why everyone's fainting. It all makes sense. It's all of the puzzle pieces, they click in together for me, guys.
I know. It just, you just listen in and it do be like that. It do be like that.
It do be like that. You know what?
Right? So then, according to the Dutch scholar Levinus Leminus from the years 1505 to 68, which love that name for him.
Very much.
In the city of Zierikzee on Schouwen Duiveland Island in Zeeland, and in the territory of this island, 2 aged roosters incubated their eggs, flogged them so that they were driven away with the difficulty from that job, and so, since the citizens conceived the conviction that from an egg of this kind a basilisk would emerge, they crushed the eggs and strangled the roosters. So in this one, they literally didn't even find a basilisk. They saw 2 old roosters with an egg, a couple of elderly gay roosters, and they were like, that's gonna be a basilisk. I can feel it. So then they crushed all the eggs and strangled the roosters, and they were like, we are free from the basilisk.
I mean, what else would you do in that situation? They're just, they're really heroes.
They did what they had to do, and that's all we can ask for.
They're like, I feel the essence of snake, toad, chicken.
I look at these roosters and I feel snake energy.
That rooster gave me snake vibes. I didn't like it. I didn't like the looks of it.
Yep. That was pretty much it. And then they were like, job well done. We have successfully kept the basilisks away for another day.
Exactly. Pat ourselves on the back. Let's go home. Get some, some celebratory drinks.
Exactly. So then E.P. Evans In his massive compilation, The Criminal Prosecution and Capital Punishment of Animals, notes the contemporary legal records that in Basel, Switzerland, in 1474, another old cock was discovered apparently laying an egg. So the bird was captured, tried, convicted of an unnatural act. So, like, they took this chicken to court, just saying, and then, it was then burned alive in front of a crowd of several thousand people.
To court?
They took it to court. They convicted it of partaking in an unnatural act, and then burned it alive in front of a crowd of people as punishment. And then, just before its execution...
No. We can't move on yet.
No, listen.
A moment
this is
of
prior
silence
to the execution.
for...
So the chicken has been executed. Okay, they took it to court. They convicted it, and it has been executed. So before the execution of the chicken, a mob prevailed upon the executioner to cut the rooster open, and they found 3 more eggs in various stages of development, and reportedly they were discovered in its abdomen. And that is what I'm saying. They took it to court, okay? They took the chicken to court. They
For what
persecuted
purpose?
it. They persecuted it. They executed it by burning it alive in front of several thousand people. And then they performed an autopsy on the chicken.
Did the chicken have public defense? Or, like... I'm just trying to understand the logistics.
As far as I can see from court
hearing.
records, the chicken did not have a defendant. Nope.
Okay, well, we need to have a new trial for this chicken because I think that they were wrongfully convicted.
I totally agree. We're just gonna hop quickly in our time machine and go back to the year 1474 and stop this chicken execution from happening.
And then we'll be burned alive because they'll be like, ye witches.
Literally, they'd be like, you came here from where? With who? Jail. And then the stake for you.
We're burning you alive, you motherfucking witches.
At that point, fair enough, I get it. If I saw somebody travel back in time, I'd be like, probably a witch.
I bet they're in cahoots with the chicken.
They're in cahoots. They created the basilisk. They know what's up.
They must be terminated.
Immediately. Exactly. So, and then, at the royal castle of Copenhagen, in the year 1651, Bonsten says, a servant sent to collect eggs from a hen coop observed an old cock. I like how they keep saying old cock, too, instead of cockerel. It's fine. So...
It's not fine, but I guess
fine.
we're living with it.
It's fine, but it's not fine, but it's fine. So, this old cock, again, it was in the act of laying an egg, and on the orders of the Danish king Frederick III, the egg was retrieved and closely watched for several days. But no basilisk emerged. The egg eventually found its way into the Royal Cabinet of Curiosities, where then it probably, like, rotted and then broke, because that's what happens.
I think we need to personally go there and see if the egg is still there.
That was my question, is that if there is a Royal Cabinet of Curiosities, why have I not heard of it, and why have I not seen it? Where is this? Where am I paying the money to go see this Royal Cabinet of Curiosities? I want to see that.
It's probably in Copenhagen's Ripley's Museum now.
Probably beside another depiction of the world's tallest man.
Yeah. I wouldn't doubt it.
Probably. So, note that the Länder Petzolds Klein's Lexikon der Damien and Elementargeister from Munich in 1990 discussed the creature, and the only historic incident that Petzold mentions in the Basel case from 1474, but he adds some detail. So, this old cock was aged 11 years and was decapitated and burned with his egg on the 4th of August 1474. So they took this rooster and his egg, his son, if you will, and executed them again.
Yeah, him and his son were executed.
At the stake, right? Because they're witches. On August, the 4th of August...
I'm just so confused. I don't know how you put a chicken on trial. Like, I just genuinely don't understand.
I wish I had an answer for you. It's just bonkers. That's the only answer I have. Straight
Multiple
noodly.
times? I, I, mm,
They were very guilty, Jen. These are the
they,
most guilty
apparently.
chickens. They have committed the offense of engaging in an unnatural act.
Like, it's a fucking chicken.
The judge was like, "Okay, chicken. Now that you're on trial, what you engaged in is fucking weird. Can't say I've seen anything like it. There's only one punishment for that: execution."
It's fucking weird. I didn't like it. You're a chicken. You dead. That's it. Final word.
That's it. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You got something to say? Bok bok. Didn't think so. Execution. And then we're having chicken wings.
You can tell your bok to someone else, you fucking bocker.
Right? Oh my gosh, too funny. So, a possible explanation for this case is found in Jacqueline Simpson's British Dragons, Wordsworth 2001, in pages 45 to 7, in case you want to look that up. So, Simpson mentions an interesting theory about so-called egg-laying cock, because that's come up a lot. So, it suggests that these cocks, because we love that word, were in reality hens suffering from a hormone imbalance, which it seems is actually not that uncommon, and it causes them to develop male features such as a comb, taking to crowing, fighting off other cocks, and trying to tread on other hens.
Aw.
So she
Poor
still lays
ladies.
eggs.
They're just
I know.
living their lives already in pain, and people are making fun of them and putting them in court, and they can't even defend themselves.
No, they can't. These poor chickens. So then she still lays eggs, but these are, of course, infertile. And an intriguing theory, I think, which may explain the Basel, Xerxes, and Copenhagen cases. But could you imagine, though, being like a lady chicken, and you're like, I am going to transfer into being into a rooster. Like, this is my real self. And then these assholes come along, and they're like, actually, this is an unnatural act. Jail. Jail for you.
Worse than jail. We're gonna fucking burn you at the stake.
And then eat you, because that's what happens to chickens.
I hate this world that we live in.
It's like, fuck you and your eggs. I know, it's so terrible. So, by far the best known of all basilisk accounts, however, is the strange tale of the Warsaw Basilisk of 1587, which one sometimes sees cited as the last of the great basilisk hunts and the only instance of a historically verifiable encounter with a monster of this sort. The origins of the story have hitherto been rather obscure, but Bondenson gives us one of the fullest accounts of this interesting and celebrated incident. So all of the things I've just shared with you are just literally general facts about basilisks through the years and historical accounts. This one is considered the greatest incident. Are you ready?
Oh,
So,
spooky.
very spooky. So, the 5-year-old daughter of a knifesmith named Macariopaeus had disappeared in a mysterious way together with another girl. The wife of Macaeostropaeus went looking for them along with the nursemaid. When the nursemaid looked into an underground cellar of a house that had fallen into ruin 30 years earlier, she observed the children laying motionless down there without responding to the shouting of the two women. When the maid was too hoarse to shout any more, she courageously went down the stairs to find out what had happened to the children. Before the eyes of her mistress, she sank to the floor beside them and did not move. The wife of Macariopaeus wisely did not follow her into the cellar, but ran back to spread the word about the strange and mysterious business. The rumor spread like wildfire through Warsaw. Many people thought the air felt unusually thick to breathe and suspected that a basilisk was hiding in the cellar. Confronted with this deadly threat to the city of Warsaw, the Senate was called into an emergency meeting. An old man named Benedictus, a former chief physician to the king, was consulted, since he was known to possess much knowledge about various arcane subjects. The bodies were pulled out of the cellar with long poles that had iron hooks on the end, and Benedictus examined them closely. They presented a horrid appearance, being swollen like drums and much discolored skin. The eyes protruded from the sockets like the halves of hen's eggs, and Benedictus, who had seen many things during his 50 years as a physician, at once pronounced the state of the corpses with an infallible sign that they had been poisoned by a basilisk. When asked by the desperate senators how much a formidable beast could be destroyed, the knowledgeable old physician recommended that a man descend into the cellar to seize the basilisk with a rake, and bring it out into the light. To protect his own life, the man had to wear a dress of leather, furnished with a covering of mirrors facing in all directions. Johann Pinsier, the author who first put into account the Warsaw Basilisk in print at the turn of the 17th century from a line engraving of 1688. So that's kind of where the that portion of it comes from, is from this author named Johann Pinsier, and he got that from a engraving that he found on an art piece from the year 1688.
I bet it was like Crozon syndrome or something like that, because I know part of that is like the primary symptoms like include abnormalities of like the face and head that can cause like the eye sockets to not properly fit in your skull and kind of protrude out.
I know, I thought that was interesting too, but then the interesting part for that is that it wasn't just the girl, but the girl's friend, who's not supposed to be a relative. So maybe they were like half sisters or something.
Maybe it was the Basilisk.
The Basilisk. That's funny.
Is that not what it's called?
Basilisk.
Basilisk. Basilisk. Same
Basilisk. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Right? So that's how we get that part of it, is from, like I said, a line engraving found. Because I find it very interesting too that they have a record of his outfit, which is a leather dress covered in mirrors, but you do what you gotta do, I guess.
Maybe that was just so obscure that they're like, we gotta record this for the history books. Like, the look he's serving, it works, but it's
boots
strange.
The house down. Yeah.
I just need someone in the future to know.
Exactly, right? So then, Benedictus did not, however, volunteer to try out this plan himself, because that would be silly. He did not quite feel prepared to do so, he said, owing to his age and infirmity. The Senate then called on the burghers, the military, and police, and found no man of sufficient courage to seek out and destroy the basilisk within its lair. A Silesian convict named Johann Führer, so different than the man I just told you about, who had been sentenced to death for robbery, was at length persuaded to make the attempt on the condition that he had been giving a complete pardon if he survived his encounter with the loathsome beast. Fourier was then dressed in creaking black leather covered with a mass of tinkling mirrors, and his eyes were protected with large eyeglasses. Armed with a sturdy rake in his right hand and a blazing torch in his left, he must have presented a singular aspect while venturing forth into the cellar. He was cheered on by at least 2,000 people who had gathered to see the basilisk being beaten to death. That's a lot of fucking people.
Like, that guy literally won the lottery. He's getting pardoned for beating up an imaginary monster.
Mm-hmm.
He'll, like, go down there and he'll be like, yeah, guys, I totally beat it. Like, it, like, evaporated because I beat it so hard, so there's no remnants of it left.
Exactly. And these 2,000 people are gonna lose their fucking minds. Lose them. Right? He's got a sick deal. So, after searching the cellar for more than an hour, the brave Johann Führer finally saw the basilisk, lurking in a niche of the wall. Old Dr. Benedictus shouted instructions to him. He was to seize it with his rake and carry it out into broad daylight. Führer accomplished this, and so the populace ran away like rabbits when he appeared in his strange outfit, gripping the neck of the writhing basilisk with the rake. Benedictus was the only one who dared examine the strange animal further, since he believed the sun's rays rendered its poison less effective. He declared that it was really a basilisk. It has the head of a cock, the eyes of a toad, a crest like a crown, a warty and scaly skin covered all over with the hue of venomous animals, and a curved tail that bent over behind its body. The strange and inexplicable tale of the Basilisk of Warsaw ends here, though. So none of the writers chronicling this strange occurrence detailed the ultimate fate of the deformed animal caught in the cellar, and it would seem unlikely, however, that it was invited to the city hall for a meal of cakes and ale, And the versatile Dr. Benedictus probably knew some infallible way to dispose of the monster. So, why were alchemists so interested in basilisks? So, I don't know if you remember this, but earlier in the story I mentioned how there was like a group of people who wanted basilisks for a reason. So, they were alchemists. And the reason that the alchemists were so interested in basilisks was because basilisk powder, a substance supposedly made from the ground carcasses of the king of snakes, was greatly coveted as it was believed to make a mysterious substance known as Spanish gold by treating copper with a mix of human blood, vinegar, and basilisk dust.
Interesting.
And that sums up my story and my extra bits that I gave you from the beginning.
Well then, what a tale. A tale for the ages. A tale of the unjust trials of the chickens.
Unjust. They were taken advantage of. I have never seen so many victimized chickens in a story in my life.
Literally. Like, what's wrong with these people? Chickens are freaking cute. They're like little dinosaurs.
Right? Well, do you change your mind? Would you still be a chicken or would you rather be a snake now?
I mean, it's the same energy as if, like, you know, that witchy vibes. Chicken vibes, you know?
Okay, I see you. But yeah.
Witches, chickens, same thing. Basically in the same boat.
Basically. And so in case you didn't catch it, the crime in this story is all of the chickens that were taken to court and tried as guilty for being basilisks. So
not given proper representation in court. You have a right to a lawyer, and those chickens were not given their lawyer.
Mm-hmm. They were not given a lawyer.
And also, you know, just rude.
Great. It's at the end of the day, it is just rude. It is very rude.
Exactly. And maybe the basilisk, maybe he wasn't such a bad guy after all. Probably just misunderstood.
Right? Who is to say? But with that, I think that brings us to the end of our episode today. If you like this episode, you can leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. 5 stars would be greatly appreciated. If you would like to send us an email, you can always email us wheelofcrime@gmail.com and send us anything you like. It could be fun. And then you can also visit us on our website, which is www.wheelofcrime.com if you want to check us out there. We also have a Patreon if you would like to donate to the show, and that is at Wheel of Crime. You can get something cool for your support. And we have social media, so if you'd like to follow us on either Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok, our handle is at Wheel of Crime.
And with that, it brings us to the end of our episode for this week. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you, and we'll see you again next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye.